Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1842, and today's date is April 15th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Mueller Report Coming, News Cycle Shifts, Think Timing, Another One on its way. Now, before we get started, let me ask you something. What are you doing when you install computer antivirus software? Or you put a smoke detector in your home, or you sign a marriage prenuptial agreement? You're preparing. You're preparing for the worst. Same goes for building a food storage plan. You're preparing for when natural disasters strike, shelves go empty at your grocery store, or you can't get there because you're cut off from everything. The best way to prepare is with my Patriot Supply. I trust and use them, and you should too. A 2-week food kit gets you started. They're available now for a special price of only $75 when you go to preparewithx22.com. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, what's very interesting, we see today that Notre Dame is on fire, and nobody knows how this started, and the entire church is imploding on itself. And we're going to be talking about that in just a minute, but we know that the Mueller report is coming out on Thursday, and we know that the deep state, they like to change the news cycle. They like to bring in something that will have everyone talking about it, where they can talk about it for many days, where they can have experts come in and they talk about it. And we know that this week, the Mueller report was slated, I believe it was for Thursday. And here we have an event on Monday. Coincidence? Most likely not. And Trump did say something that's very interesting, and we'll be talking about that in just a bit. But we have ranking member Devin Nunes, Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan. They recently visited with I.G. Horowitz, and they foresee future criminal referrals coming as an outcome of the I.G. investigation. And they're saying that the criminal referrals that they went ahead and gave Barr might be the same ones that they are investigating. So they're letting us know that these are the same people. Now, FFE3301 tweeted out something very interesting. Nunes dropped a nuclear bomb last night on Hannity. Now, this was back on April 13, 2019. Did you listen? Nunes said the illegal ops started late 2015, early 2016, 5i. The legal op didn't start until July 31st, 2016. Leaks fed back to Intel to initiate a special counsel and produced a redacted portion of what he was talking about. NSA examined all queries using identifiers for U.S. persons targeted pursuant to Section 704-705B of FISA using the redacted tool in Redacted from November 1st, 2015 to May 1st, 2016. ID at 23, footnote omitted. Based on that examination, NSA estimates that the approximately 85% of those queries representing, and this is redacted, queries conducted by approximately redacted targeted offices were not compliant with the applicable minimization procedures. ID F3, many of these non-compliant queries involve use of the same identifiers over different date ranges. Even so, a non-compliance rate of 85% raises substantial questions about the property of using of redacted to query FISA data. While the government reports that it is unable to provide a reliable estimate of the number of non-compliant queries since 2012, there is no apparent reason to believe the November 2015 to April 2016 period coincided with an unusually higher error rate. Now, we know the Mueller report is going to be coming out this Thursday, and they're saying it's about Thursday morning. Barr will testify about the Mueller report before the House and Senate Judiciary panels on May 1st and May 2nd. And Trump tweeted out the following. The Mueller report, which was written by 18 angry Democrats, who also happen to be Trump haters and Clinton supporters, should have focused on the people who spied on my 2016 campaign and others who fabricated the whole Russia hoax. That is, never forget the crime. Since there was no collusion, why was there investigation in the first place? Answer, dirty cops, Dems, and crooked Hillary. Here he is once again letting everyone know who was involved in this whole entire thing. This has been building for quite a while. We're finally getting the Mueller report. Now, will it be delivered Thursday? Hopefully. Do I expect something else to happen, maybe with the deep state? Maybe. We'll be talking about that in just a minute. But what's very interesting is that this whole immigration thing, it is blowing up in the deep state's face. The New York Times now, they're switching their whole entire narrative. They're saying now immigrants are fleeing Central America because of global warming, not because of what Obama put in place, not because of open borders. I mean, they're just making stuff up now to explain why all these individuals are coming up here, because they can see that it doesn't look good for the deep state. They realize that this whole immigration thing is now turning on them, and we'll be talking about that in just a minute. But something very interesting about Assange, and when we start to put all this together with Assange, we start to see something very interesting. The timing of this sudden movement in the Assange case after 7 years of almost complete stasis, it's not a coincidence. Trump will begin making moves he has been delaying while waiting for the right time. The Department of Justice indictment of Assange was filed and sealed on March 6, 2018, which is more than a year ago. Interestingly enough, the Trump Department of Justice made this decision to likely make a deal with Ecuador and unseal Assange's indictment shortly after the Mueller special counsel release its final report. Immediately after Attorney General William Barr testified to the U.S. Congress that he believes the Trump presidential campaign was spied on by U.S. intelligence and law enforcement agencies during the 2016 election. Now, all the federal law enforcement and intelligence agencies officials who spied on Trump's campaign knew there was never any evidence of collusion between the Russian government and Trump campaign. They knew that there was no collusion with Russia on getting the DNC emails or anything else. Mueller has confirmed this by ending the probe without charging a single person with any such activity. The publicly known evidence at this stage points to the fact that the people who launched the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane counterintelligence investigation knew all along they were engaged in a massive fraud. So what is happening right now? I believe that Assange's release from the Ecuador embassy was completely planned. And they're going to use Assange to show that Russian hackers did not steal the DNC emails. Assange is going to be used as a weapon against the deep state. Think about it. What happens when it is proven that Trump and Putin never worked on getting the emails? What if it was suddenly proven through documentary evidence and testimony by the person who published the stolen emails that no Russians were involved whatsoever in getting the emails? Now, we know that Assange has said this many, many times. You don't think he has documentation to back this up? You don't think he has actual proof? Yes, he has the source. That instead of Russian hackers, Russian agents or Trump associates, the emails were obtained in a different way, such as through a leak from within the DNC itself. Seth Rich, remember, Q did mention Seth Rich. Assange is another piece to this puzzle to show that the deep state made all of this up and that they were the ones colluding, hiding evidence, and committing crimes. The mainstream media is out there saying, listen, it's going to take years to extradite Assange to the United States. I mean, you don't think this was already set up? You don't think this was already put into place when he was arrested on April 11th, 4/11, which is information? They already had this planned. Everything was already in the works. This is not a coincidence. It was a planned op Let's go back to post 2655, January 6, 2019. When you no longer control the levers of power, do Five Eye allies buckle and cooperate in order to preserve and maintain their future? Think about that for a second. The UK is going to cooperate. Why? Because they have a lot to lose. Think about it. If the world realizes that they were involved in spying on a president, along with Australia, New Zealand, and the rest, and they were involved in many other operations, what do you think is going to happen? Do you think they're buckling under the pressure and they're cooperating? You better believe it. And this is no coincidence. This was planned. Now, we can see that the deep state, the Dems, they are up in arms with Trump saying that he's going to be sending the illegals to all different cities. Nadler was out there, and he was saying the president has no right to spend money appropriated by Congress to other purposes to ship immigrants all over the country. It's just not allowed. We can't have it. He went on to say, if someone requests asylum, he should be considered. There should be a place for that person to stay while the request is being adjudicated. This is just, nor is it right for the president to use immigrants or people who are claiming political asylum as pawns in a fight against political opponents. Now, what's wrong? Obama was shipping these people off to many different areas, different cities. They were getting federal funds. Why can't Trump do the same? Now, during 2017, 2018, 2019, we'd had politicians, Hollywood actors, singers, etc. tell us that we need to let the illegals into the country. I mean, let's go back in time a little bit to 2017. Cher tweeted out the following: those who can must take a dreamer into their home and protect them. I'm ready to do this, and others in my business will do the same. Sanctuary. Today, Cher's tweet is a little different. How interesting. How all of a sudden everything is being turned around because they're realizing what's happening. She said, I understand helping struggling immigrants, but my city, Los Angeles, isn't taking care of its own. What about the 50,000 plus citizens who live on the streets, people who live below poverty line and hungry? If my state can't take care of its own, many are vets, how can it take care of more? Now, the post came after Trump threatened to bus border crossers and illegals into sanctuary cities and states like California. If the country's asylum laws were not changed, they were going to do this. And Trump is still threatening this. Trump responded to Cher and said, I finally agree with Cher, and put her tweet below his. Now, James Woods, he kind of summed this whole thing up with a tweet. This Democrat-sponsored invasion is not an accident. It is a carefully engineered campaign to tip swing states blue. Pelosi wants the illegal swarm to flood Texas because if Texas goes blue, Democrats will own the Electoral College forever. This is war. They know what they're up to. Trump knows what they're up to. The Patriots know what they're up to. They understand they're bringing in all these illegals to try to manipulate the votes during the next election. Now remember, during the midterms, they have been gathering evidence, and Q has been telling us that voter IDs are coming soon. And you can see how these individuals are panicking right now because they know that Trump is onto them. And they're a little bit nervous. They're a little bit afraid. Now, something very interesting. Trump called out an Obama-era White House cybersecurity official on Twitter because he took a position on the Chinese telecommunication giant Huawei as a lobbyist. Samir Jain is the former senior director for cybersecurity policy at the White House National Security Council and registered with Congress to lobby for Huawei on March 27th. He now works for law and lobbying firm Jones Day. Trump tweeted out the following: Chinese telecom giant Huawei hires former Obama security official as a lobbyist. This is not good or acceptable. Unbelievable in what is going on here. We have Eric Swalwell out there, and he threw his hat into the presidential race for 2020, and, well, he does not like the Second Amendment whatsoever. And since he announced his Democratic presidential candidacy, his whole entire platform is revolved around the Second Amendment. He was asked if he supported an outright appeal of the constitutional amendment. He claimed he had opposed such a dramatic proposal, while stating that the Second Amendment is not an absolute right. Yeah, it is an absolute right. Free speech is an absolute right. That's why the founding fathers set it up this way. So yeah, it's an absolute right. And I'm noticing that all the children that are graduating high school and just recently graduating college, many of them have been brainwashed into thinking that these rights are maybe privileges. And their idea of what global warming and climate change and all this stuff, they've been brainwashed into thinking the way the deep state wants them to think. And we need to reverse this. If you noticed, Common Core, when that was implemented, it wasn't to make everyone smarter. It wasn't to make America great. It was to do the opposite, to bring down the intelligence level to a third world country. That was their plan all along. And all of this needs to be reversed now, which it will be. Now, something else which is very interesting, since we're talking about gun control and all this other stuff, Dianne Feinstein, well, it looks like they finally came out and said it. She tweeted out the following: less than a month after the deadly mass shooting in New Zealand assault, rifles are now illegal. Lawmakers are charged with passing laws to keep the public safe. I applaud New Zealand on a job well done. As a country with a gun violence epidemic, the U.S. should follow suit. And there you have it. They're exactly doing what we thought they'd be doing. That was the model that they want to use. And they're going to try to convince everyone to follow along, which I wouldn't be surprised if we have some type of an event that involves shooting the way that New Zealand had it, because they need to go a step further to push the event, to push the crisis, to push the legislation. They need to do this so they can follow suit. And this is going to be their push here. We see that leaked intelligence documents reveals that French weapons, ships, and other things were being used in Yemen. So the classified note provided to the French government in October 2018, according to Declass, said that 48 Caesar artillery guns manufactured by Nexter Group were being used along the Saudi-Yemen border. Tanks sold in 1990s to the United Arab Emirates have also been used. Mirage 2000, 2009 fighter jets, French missile guided technology, Cougar transport helicopters, and many, many other types of military weapons are being used in Yemen. They're being called out right now. Now, yesterday we talked about the CBS drama The Good Fight, and on the list there were many different words, but on the top of the list it says assassinate President Trump, and then it says bomb, device, explosive, grenade, target, execute. And now the Secret Service is looking into this. Now, let's talk about the Notre Dame Cathedral fire. And this is absolutely terrible. It was being renovated. You can see the scaffolding up around the cathedral. And all of a sudden, it caught on fire. And this happened sometime around 6:30 p.m. So at this time, do I think workers were working at this time? No. Nobody really knows how it started. Trump tweeted out the following: so horrible to watch the massive fire at Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Perhaps flying water tankers could be used to put it out. Must act quickly. And they were trying to put it out, but the fire was roaring and it was intense, and the entire roof was collapsing in on itself. And Trump said something very interesting when he was talking about the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. He said they think it was caused by, at this moment, they don't know, but they think it was caused by renovation. And I hope that's the reason, renovation. You know, what's that all about? But it's a terrible sight to behold. Now, in February, 10 churches in France were attacked in 1 week. So this is very interesting. If you notice, this story now has clogged the news cycle. Now remember, when we talk about events, they don't have to be shooting, they don't have to be something that explodes, they don't have to be terrorists, they don't have to be anything like that. If you take something historic and you set it ablaze, this will clog the news cycle. What's coming this week? Well, the Mueller report. And right now, this is an event where something historic caught fire and is burning to the ground. And this will keep people talking for a couple of days. They might even try another event similar to this, where something historic or something that people care about all of a sudden is destroyed. Now, I believe they might be using the technique that the Patriots were using. Think back a little bit to New Zealand. When Q was counting down and they thought the Mueller report, the summary, was going to come out on a Friday, and they had the event on the Friday where they thought it was going to come out, and the Patriots tricked them to releasing it the next Friday. So they used their ammunition. This might have been an event where they're trying to make the Patriots believe they just used their ammunition because they thought something was going to happen, or they released it too soon because they thought the Mueller report was coming out, and then it was announced it was going to come out on Thursday. They might try another small event like this, because if you have two small events like this, they can, bring them together and say something's going on and have a lot of people talk about it and keep it in the news cycle. I don't think they're ready to use their big event until the Declass, the OIG report, and everything else. I think they're going to be using these small type events to completely clog the news cycle with these type of stories. And we'll have to wait and see. But I do believe another small event is coming. Think about it. They know they're stuck here. Trump has boxed them in with immigration, boxed them in with the Russian collusion, boxed them in with the spying, boxed them in now with what? The DNC emails, boxed them in everywhere. There is nothing left they can do except have events. And I would expect to see more of this to try to clog the news cycle, to keep the attention off of what the Patriots are presenting. Will it work? Most likely not. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.